A black woman pulled over. Officers mock her, unaware she's their new boss. Their expressions shift. What happens next will shock you. The streets of Brookhaven were quiet under the dim glow of the streetlights. Maya Thompson, a sharp-minded black woman in her late 30s, navigated the unfamiliar roads of the city that was about to become her new home. Today was her first day as the newly appointed chief of police, a position that had not come without struggle. The community had been fractured by years of racial injustice, and many within the police department resented the idea of change, especially change led by someone like her. As she drove through the winding roads, she couldn't ignore the tension tightening in her chest. She had spent years fighting against systemic bias, working tirelessly to rise through the ranks in a field dominated by those who rarely looked like her. This wasn't just another promotion, it was a battle line drawn in the sand. Then, without warning, red and blue lights flared in her rearview mirror, the piercing wail of a siren breaking through the silence. Instinctively, Maya's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. She wasn't speeding, she wasn't breaking any laws, but she knew this wasn't about that. Two officers stepped out of their squad car, their postures rigid with authority. Officer Daniels, a burly man with a weathered face, adjusted his belt, while his younger partner, Officer Reed, approached her window with deliberate slowness. Maya's heart pounded, but she forced herself to remain calm. "License and registration," Daniels barked, his voice carrying an unmistakable edge of suspicion. Maya handed over her documents without a word. The officers exchanged glances as they scanned her license. Daniels narrowed his eyes. "You from around here?" he asked. Maya's expression remained unreadable. "Just moved in." Reed took a step closer. "You know, this isn't exactly the safest area for people like you. What's your business here?" A bitter taste settled on Maya's tongue. She had heard those words before. They weren't about safety. They were about control. "I'm on my way to work," she replied, keeping her voice steady. Reed crossed his arms. "What kind of work?" Maya paused, studying their faces. She could tell they were testing her, searching for any excuse to escalate the situation. The temptation to reveal her position right then and there was strong, but she held back. "Not yet." "You'll find out soon enough," she said calmly. Daniels let out a dry chuckle. "We could detain you for questioning." That was it. That was the moment she decided she had enough. "That won't be necessary," she said, her voice unwavering. "I'm Maya Thompson, your new chief of police." Silence crashed over them like a tidal wave. The officers' smug expressions melted into pure disbelief. Reed's mouth fell open slightly, while Daniel's face drained of color. You're the chief?" Daniel stammered, his confidence crumbling. "Yes," Maya said, stepping out of the car. She straightened her shoulders, looking them dead in the eye. "And I'd like to know why you pulled me over, why this unnecessary interrogation, or is this how you treat all black drivers in this city?" Reed swallowed hard. Daniel struggled for words. "We didn't realize—" "That's the problem," Maya cut him off, her voice sharp as steel. "You don't realize, and that ends today." By morning, the entire precinct knew what had happened. The confrontation spread through the community like wildfire. Some saw it as a sign of long overdue change, while others bristled at the shakeup of the status quo. But Maya was unfazed. Later that day, standing before her assembled officers, she delivered a message that left no room for misinterpretation. "I was stopped last night, interrogated for nothing more than existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. If that can happen to me, someone who holds the highest position in this department, imagine how many innocent people have faced the same treatment without the power to push back." She scanned the room, meeting each gaze head-on. Change is coming to Brookhaven PD. If you're not ready for it, hand in your badge. A thick silence followed. Some officers looked away. Others clenched their jaws. But there were those, young, hopeful faces, who straightened their backs, a spark of determination in their eyes. Maya knew the battle was just beginning, but as she looked at the men and women before her, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: hope. Racial bias and abuse of power in law enforcement remain pressing issues, but true change begins with accountability and fearless leadership. Maya Thompson's story teaches us that silence enables injustice, while standing firm against discrimination paves the way for progress. Those in positions of authority must challenge systemic oppression and demand fairness. Communities must unite, speak out, and hold institutions accountable. Every individual has a role in dismantling prejudice, whether by calling out bias, educating others, or supporting reforms. Justice isn't given, it's fought for. Change is uncomfortable, but as Maya proved, it's also necessary for a more equitable future. Subscribe Undercover Insights channel for more meaningful and inspiring stories.